Hi, everyone. Welcome to Being Patient Perspectives. I'm Deborah Kan, founder of Being Patient. We launched Being Patient Perspectives to have a first-person look at what it's like to live with Alzheimer's from the person who's suffering from it, from their perspective. So I'm really pleased to have with us today Peter Berry. He was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's at the very young age of 50 years old. Thanks so much, Peter, for joining us.
No, you're very, very welcome. It's a privilege to be here. It really is.
So, Peter, I know you want to talk about that initial stage of diagnosis, but before we do, I want to say I love what you're doing. Peter every week hosts a video, a vlog, and talks about different elements and aspects of living with Alzheimer's from his perspective. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to appreciate really what it's like to live with dementia. And Peter, I know you really wanted to talk to us about that initial stage of diagnosis. I think you suffered terribly from depression, which is completely understandable. So why don't we just start with telling us, how were you diagnosed? How did you know something was wrong?
Okay, yeah, well, it's in actual fact, to be honest with you, I didn't really think anything was wrong. I was pretty happy with the way things were going. It was my wife who noticed the problems that I was having. At that time, I ran a timber business, and I was running the business not as well as I had done in previous years. And I've been running it for about 25-ish years. I was making lots of notes, and I was stumbling and making lots of very bad decisions. And I think one of the things that happened is my wife came into the office that we have here at home, and the place was plastered with sticky notes, reminders for me that I had never done. So she started the ball rolling with getting some sort of diagnosis and getting me into a doctor's surgery. That process took 3 years, believe it or not.
And that is such a common story that we hear repeated over and over again. First, it's usually the partner who notices, the spouse who's closest to the person. And secondly, just this slippage of not being able to function at work in a way that you used to. So 3 years, that's not surprising, unfortunately. And usually it's you have mild cognitive impairment and then you have Alzheimer's. Was it the same for you?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I sort of get it in a way because they try and outrule so many different other elements like depression and all of these other conditions. And yeah, I get that. But 3 years is a long, long while. And my wife did have to battle constantly battle to get a diagnosis. And it was only actually pure chance that we got a diagnosis because we were poached, I think, by somebody else, because somebody else looked at my test results and came up with the idea, you know what, this guy is not doing well, something's wrong. Let's compare the brain scans. So they compared the brain scans and they could see the deterioration over a period of 3 years.
So when you did get that diagnosis, tell us a little bit about what that was like. I mean, you've written before, and you've vocalized before that, you've actually even considered ending your life. So tell us about how you got over that shock and what that shock was like to begin with.
Well, to begin with, when we sat down in a doctor's surgery and she said that I had early onset Alzheimer's and my life expectancy was, and I believe I'm right in saying, 8 to 10 years maximum. To begin with, I thought, well, you know what? Yeah, I can cope with this. Yeah, big deal. So what? And I was quite numb to the whole thing. It wasn't really until I think I got home, or we got home, because the diagnosis is for us as a family and not just me as an individual. I got home, and I think over a period of a few weeks, because there was no support in this country for us after a diagnosis, a post-diagnosis support, that I think the enormity of dementia, the enormity of Alzheimer's and what was going to happen to me and my family did weigh very, very heavy on my shoulders. And for a good year, I went into quite a deep depression. We never told anybody about the diagnosis for the first probably 12 months. We just decided to keep it very quiet because I suppose, really, to put it bluntly, I was embarrassed to have Alzheimer's. And that's a crazy thing to say now, but I was ashamed of it all. And the depression gradually got worse and worse, and my skills diminished with various reading, writing, and all sorts of things. And it came to a point in time where I thought to myself, you know what, the world would be a better place without me. My family would get on better without me. And that was where I was at that time.
So how did you get over that? I mean, that's, of course, understandable. And I'm sure many people...
It's a strange thing because I'm very much a glass half full man. I always have been a very positive person. And I think when I got to the lowest point, the point of, I suppose, virtually no return, where I don't think any living person should have to go, it suddenly dawned on me that there was nobody actually helping me or us as a family. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be here at this particular point. I know what it's like to have my head virtually in the news. I know what all of that is about. So if nobody is helping us, then who's helping the thousands of other people who are being diagnosed last week, tomorrow, 6 months ago? I thought nobody. And that was really, really the encouragement that I needed to think to myself, well, okay, I have a purpose now to educate others, help others, and hopefully just inspire people to live as well as they can with this condition. To try and explain to people that life is not over with dementia. Life is just different. It's not really over. That was what spurred me on. That gave me a sense of purpose. And that's what people like me need, a sense of purpose. We need to feel as though we have something to give.
And I love your video, your weekly video entries. Yeah. It's you know, there are things that you point out that most people, including myself, would never think of. Like, so for example, you talk about the point where you forgot how to sign your name. And that's, of course, understandable, but that's something that it would make life quite difficult, not being able to have your signature anymore, right? So talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, that's, does every day, do you experience new things that kind of say, oh, wow, I can't do this anymore, that's another hurdle? Or from your perspective, you're obviously an optimist, and you are bringing a lot of positivity into your narrative, but things must also catch you off guard.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to get back to the videos, they were actually my daughter's idea, believe it or not, because I used to write everything down in a journal. And when dementia got so I couldn't read or write very well, she said to me, Dad, do a video. I said, well, I don't know about that. So we ended up doing a video, and we thought that we would probably only do maybe 4 or 5 videos. And here we are now, and I think I'm right in saying we're 85-ish weeks in, I think, something like that. But yeah, it's a very strange thing, the thing about signing my name. I had to sign a document, and it got so that I had the pen in my hand, and I still to this day cannot remember whether I am right-handed or left-handed. I have absolutely no idea. My writing is pretty much the same, whichever hand I put it in. And it came to me that I had no idea what my signature looked like. So I just wrote my name. And I didn't know if it was my signature or not. And I thought, wow, this is a pretty bad thing, really. And it does get you down, little things like that. But I come to realize that I knew what my name looked like, but my signature, every time I sign it, is completely different to the last time I signed it. So really the signature doesn't really mean anything. And these are the sort of things that people don't actually realize. If I go into a bank now and sign my name, they're going to look at that and they're going to say, well, this is not your signature. But it is, because that's how I sign it now. But tomorrow I'll sign it differently. So that's just one of those things. I think one of the scary situations, and one of the scary things that really scares me, is that and you mustn't dwell on this, sometimes I think to myself, when I go to bed tonight, will I wake up tomorrow and there's something else that I cannot do? This is a big problem. And I can get away, I can live without signing them. I can live without remembering this interview in an hour's time. I can live with all that. But I can't live with the fact that I wake up tomorrow and my ability to speak like I am now has been drastically changed within that night, or within 3 or 4 weeks, or within a few months. That's the bit that really scares me through dementia, is not being able to project myself like I do now. And that's why I think I try and do so much now to fit as much as I can in, humanly possible.
And it is, I mean, with all, you're very articulate.
Yeah,
So
yes.
when we speak, and I know it's probably different for your wife who's with you all the time, but when you speak, and I've said this before when interviewing people who have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I don't mean this in any degrading way whatsoever, but I'm astonished at how articulate you are, because it doesn't seem like this disease is robbing your words at all.
But then you see, I have a theory behind that. You see, people like me, we didn't get dementia on Monday and we were diagnosed on Thursday. Mm-hmm. We have been many years, I suppose, succumbing to where we are now. So as people, we devise natural strategies, natural coping ways, and we can probably have a conversation with somebody in the street for 10 minutes and they wouldn't even know we had dementia, because we get so good at putting on a show. That's the thing about it. It's a coping strategy that we naturally, I think, fit into our lives. It's
well, you spoke earlier about the Post-its, and I've heard that before. People who were starting to experience cognitive impairment, they would just put up reminders all over the place, but without really realizing why they were doing it, or analyzing it for that matter.
Yeah, it's you just try and live your life the best you can. It's not like you go out and you break your leg and you find it difficult to walk. If you've got a pain in your hand for 6 months in your right hand, you will gradually do things with your left hand over that period of time, and it will naturally happen. And I think it's what happened with all of us with dementia. For a period of time, we cope, and we cope very, very well in our younger age group because we're physically fit. There's something else I wanted to get to about exercise. I spend a lot of time cycling. I cycled across the country, right across England last year, to raise funds for young dementia here in the UK. And I think that cycling is a great thing for me. And one of the ways that I cope with my dementia is I gave my dementia an identity. I made it a thing. Instead of it being inside my head, I thought, I can't really deal with it in my head. But if I can make it a little person and I can see it, then I can give it an identity and I can deal with it. So my dementia is a little short, fat man with a pointy nose. He's always very grumpy. And one of the sayings that I use quite often is that when I go cycling, I leave my dementia at home. I leave him sitting at home, twiddling his thumbs on the settee, and he's not in control. I'm in control. I become what I was instead of what I am now. And that's the same for depression or any other form of sort of mental issue. You've got to be able to leave your issues at home for a while. You've got to be able to get away from it. And I think physical exercise is such a wonderful thing. It helps me. It helps me deal with it.
Otherwise, it's consuming, right? And so you're able to take a break from being a person with Alzheimer's disease.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the thing is, make no mistake about it, people like me, we know the journey we're on. We understand the path that we're taking. We all know the end product of this condition, but it's about what you do in between. That's the thing. And if we sit and dwell on tomorrow and next week and all the nasty things that go with dementia, we've got to dwell on the good things. And that's what it's about. It's not about the I can't do's, it's about the I can do's.
Do you feel like you have the ability to slow down the progression?
I think, and I'm a great believer in, if you eat well and you look at life in a positive manner, then that must help to slow the progression down. If I sat in this house now and didn't hardly go out and was very depressed and really didn't interact with people, then I think I would be a lot worse than I am now. I really honestly believe that. And medication does have a part in this, and doctors have a part in it. But I also believe that we are responsible for ourselves. It's also up to us to help ourselves, and that is a key thing.
And I think that's a great way to look at it. And I love the fact that, tell us a little bit about participating in a docu-series that Channel 4 is producing.
Yeah.
I love that you're doing this.
I was contacted by Channel 4 here in the UK, and they wanted to do a documentary about people with dementia in my age group, early onset, in the work environment, because technically we are unemployable according to all sources. So a group of 14 of us got together with different abilities, and we opened a restaurant in an old disused fire station in Bristol, and we ran that restaurant for 7 weeks. We had support from a Michelin star chef and another chef, but really the support was only support. Once they'd shown us what to do and we got into the flow of it, they were really standing back and just, with their arms folded, saying, "Well, you get on with it, you can do it," and that's what we did. So we done service, we laid tables, we took orders, and we done it all. And some people had mobility issues, some people had speech issues, some people even had sight issues. But the fantastic thing about it was we all became one big family. And they're now trying to roll out the restaurant that makes mistakes for a few weeks every year, annually, throughout the UK and hopefully throughout the world, getting all major chains to employ somebody and people with dementia. And I think the program is on, well, I know it's on sometime in March this year. We're not sure exactly of the date yet because they're still editing it. But it'll be a groundbreaking program, and we're hoping it'll show employers that we still have much to give as a group together. We really do, and as individuals come to that.
What was that like? What was that like being involved in that community? And did you feel like you were able to do what was expected of you?
Yeah, I think basically, I mean, I personally was at front of house, and that was my thing. I was good at being at front of house and escorting people to their tables. Some people were very good in the kitchen, so we all played to our own strengths, but we all assisted each other. To be part of a team, to be part of something that gave us all a sense of purpose, was a very wonderful thing. Some people had issues with their speech, and by the end of the 7 weeks, their speech had improved because they had been with people who understood. We all understood each other, and there was that level of peer support that most of us don't get. We don't get that. Once we're diagnosed, there is only us. We can't seem to locate people in the same situation. If we can, they're in major towns and cities, and that's difficult to access. So that peer support every day, day in, day out, for those 7 weeks, was absolutely fantastic.
They often say that socialization is so important, right, for the health of your brain. So we have a question coming in asking you, Peter, how do you think the quality of sleep helps with you're dealing with dementia. Any tips on how to use sleep as a way of healing?
Yeah, well, in actual fact, sleep is something that I do reasonably well, and I think it's because I do so much during the day that I'm actually so tired that I can't do anything but sleep at night time. But I do find now that in the afternoons, I have to sleep. My advice is don't give in to it. If you need to rest. Sleep for 40 minutes, an hour, or whatever. I think it helps so much. Well, it does me because I get so mentally tired. To give you an example, your brain today is just chugging along like quite a large engine. My brain now today is revving like mad to try and act what is deemed to be normal, to try and keep up the pace. So mentally, I'm getting pretty exhausted just by doing this. And there's no point in giving into it. In actual fact, after I've done this, I've now got to go off and I've got another talk to do in one of our major towns. So today's going to be pretty full on for me. But sleep, I think, is essential. Knowing when to rest, but also knowing when to exercise. They're the two key things.
So what is it that how should people treat you? You've spoken about, obviously you're a very capable person. You're doing a lot, you're giving speeches, you're enlightening a lot of people, but what has been the hardest part about the diagnosis of Alzheimer's in terms of your relationship with other people? And what should we know about, how the best way to be with you, and what is it that we should know from your perspective?
Okay, to summarize that up, people with dementia and me, we are still us. I am still me. I'm no different. I can understand people, I can talk to people, and I can hear. We don't need to be shouted at, we don't need to be talked down to, and we don't need people to ask our partners when we're standing there, how is he today? Just talk to us as normally as you would anybody else, because that's so refreshing. And it's not that people are being nasty, or it's not that people are being hurtful intentionally. I strongly believe it's because people don't know how to talk to us. There's a lack of awareness. And that's why I say today, just treat us like you would do. When I went and had my diagnosis, I went into a doctor's surgery and it took about 15 minutes to get that diagnosis. From all intents and purposes, I was no different when I walked out of that surgery than when I was when I walked in. I was exactly the same person. The only thing that had changed in my mind is that somebody had told me I had dementia. Somebody had told me it was going to be bad. But nobody else knew. Nobody treated me any different until a year later, and we told the world that I had dementia. Then it was like a light switch. People changed their attitudes to me. But they shouldn't have done, because I was that same person before I told them and afterwards. So really, just treat us as you would do anybody else.
So someone's just complimenting you, writing in, saying that I'm a fan of celebrity Facebook vlogger Peter Berry. You are a celebrity.
Oh, really? And I don't think I'm a celebrity. I'm just me doing the things that I do.
Well, according to this person, you're a celebrity, and he said, and this person says, and your wife, Teresa Berry, lots of Peter's success comes from her support. I'd like to hear more about the support he gets.
Yeah, in actual fact, there's many things. As I've said before, a diagnosis is for the whole family. It's not just for an individual. People say, do I suffer with dementia? I don't suffer. The people around me suffer. My wife suffers. And I think that all the partners and carers, they're the ones that suffer. they're the ones who do all the support. My wife is the one who writes instructions for me to start the process of cooking a meal when she comes home from work. She's the one who sets up all the reminders on the electronic devices that we've got in the house, because I forget to drink, I forget to eat, I forget to do all of these things. So she has to be my external memory. She has to be the one that organizes every mortal thing, from driving to appointments, to what we're going to have to eat. I can help her prepare food, but I have to do it all under instructions. I've become a 5-year-old as far as mental goes. So she does have to do a lot, and I think that the carers are the ones who really do shoulder the brunt of all of this. But without her support, I wouldn't be nowhere near as I am now. This shirt that I'm wearing today, there was a note in my bedroom with put these jeans on, put this shirt on, right, ready for this interview, because I wouldn't have a clue.
I wish I had someone who did that for me too. Make life much faster to get ready in the morning.
Yeah, so everything is mentioned and listed for me.
So Peter, tell us what I mean. You've grown a Facebook group now. It has about 13,000 or so people on it. Yeah, tell us what the group means to you. Is that really your channel to access other people who are in great need of support?
Yeah, technology has been a great thing for me. I mean, for argument's sake, doing this now, I mean, how cool is this? You know, all these miles away, and I'm chatting to all you wonderful people. It's become a great support network for me and many others, and I never dreamed that my videos would go globally where they've actually gone, and I never dreamt that you see, here's something just to put into the equation. I started doing my videos to help others, but that's turned the other way around. And what people probably don't understand is that people responding to the videos, watching the videos, is now helping me. That's the turnaround. It's giving me the encouragement to carry on doing the videos. So in actual fact, I'm getting as much support off the people who listen to these videos as they're getting from me. So there's that sense of purpose again. There's that turning the whole negative round into a positive.
And
but, we do Zoom meetings, and the restaurant that makes mistakes, all of us 14, we're all in a group chat together, so we can still be together without being together.
How do people? You have your own YouTube channel, right? So how do people who haven't seen your videos access them?
Yeah, actually, funny enough, the YouTube channel was only my daughter started that up as a library for me because I was losing the videos. So she put them on this YouTube channel. They don't get a great deal of views. Most of the views are on Facebook, sometimes 3,000 and 4,000 views a week on each video. But I think there's loads of subscribers. And if people want to look at the YouTube channel, it's if they just put in Peter Berry, Alzheimer's, the channel and the page will come up. And yeah, so it's Peter Berry, it's Berry, and just Alzheimer's, and every 85 or 6 or however many they are all there right from week 1. The good days and the bad days as well.
And what is the name of your Facebook page or group?
It's just Peter Berry Living with Alzheimer's.
Okay. Peter, I so admire what you're doing, and I have to say, watching your videos, I'm learning a lot too, and I find, with a mom who has Alzheimer's, it's incredibly helpful that you can articulate so well from that first person perspective. So we thank you very much for sharing with us and taking the time, and having such an optimistic outlook is really wonderful to see. So thank you.
Oh no, thank you very, very much, because without you guys listening to the videos, there would be no point to doing them. So, it's you lot make it as more important than me doing it. But it does give me a sense of achievement and purpose to know that for a short space of time, I can just open the curtain around dementia and just let people into my world, just for a short space of time, because everybody lives little bits of dementia in their normal lives, but so many people don't actually realize it. Dementia is such a complicated condition, disease, but it is surrounded by many, many simple solutions. And a little tip for today is, don't delve into the nasty, messy stuff and try and work out the mechanics of dementia or Alzheimer's, because you never will. You'll never get into somebody's head fully. Look at the simplistic bit around dementia. Look at the simple solutions. Like if you've got a mobile phone and you want to put something away and you might forget where it is, take a photograph. It's as simple as that. And once you deal with the simple stuff, it makes the complicated bit of dementia a lot less complicated.
And that is a great way to look at things. Thank you so much, Peter, for sharing. I hope more people have the opportunity to watch your videos. And for this interview, we will be posting it on beingpatient.com, which is our site, under a new series we've launched called Being Patient Perspectives. A first-person look of what it's like to live with Alzheimer's and really be inspired by people like Peter. So thanks so much. Good luck on, I know you have a big day ahead of you. Good luck on your talk, and we look forward to keeping tabs on you and watching your videos.
Okay, well, they're up every Friday morning at about 7:30 in the morning, so it'll be great to see you all there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Peter.
Bye-bye.